All right, man of faith, we're into week 2 of our series, The Way. And this week we're looking at how God's always with us. His presence never departs from us, and he's always there with us. Too often, though, we don't pay attention. We don't realize it. We're the ones who ignore it. I'm John Riley, the junior high pastor here at Emmanuel Faith, coming at you via video due to quarantine. And here in week 2 of the series, The Way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
We're looking at the reality that God never forsakes us. He never, ever leaves us. And I'm going to be challenging students to consider, what is it going to take for us to be more aware of it? Pastor Ryan this weekend is looking at the story of Jacob and how he's on the run. He's running away from his brother because of the trouble he got himself into and the anger, how he'd stolen from his brother, listening to bad advice from his own mom. And so he's fearful for his life and getting out of there. And he's stuck alone in the wilderness when he has an encounter with God. He's at a lonely place, a terrible place where he's using a pillow as a rock because things are so messed up. But God comes to him there. Jacob has a couple of times where he has these visions or appearances or encounters with God, and they're pretty powerful. In those, he has this amazing vision of the stairway to heaven. And we normally think of it like that, as a ladder or a way to get up to heaven. But the truth is, it's a picture of God coming down to us, which is what God always does. He created everything and he exists within everything. Some false religions make the mistake of thinking that God is in those things, and they worship the things trying to connect with God. And that's never the right way to do it. It's not that God is the tree or the essence of the tree, rather that God is the creator and the sustainer, and that his presence is with us everywhere. But we shouldn't worship what he's made. That's a mistake all these false religions make, is they're worshiping what he has made instead of recognizing, because of the amazingness of a flower or the amazingness of rainbows and the blue sky and the clouds coming and life and oxygen entering our lungs and blood pumping and all the wonderful things that he's created, instead of realizing that those depict his amazingness and are part of why he's worthy of praise, people make the mistake of worshiping those things or worshiping ourselves. So how do you recognize the presence of God? In some ways, there's a lot of amazing things that he's made that depict him, that point to him, that show us that he's incredible. And so we have to learn to recognize that incredibleness and give God the credit for it. But the very most important thing is, we have, as believers in Jesus, if that's you, we have his Holy Spirit that dwells inside of us. God himself lives within us, and God living inside of us and with us is something that we can't take for granted. We trust him for it, and the way that we connect with him mostly is by obeying him and getting his truth locked into our brains. We're not going to know what to obey if we don't have his truth in there. But ultimately, it's not that complex. It's pretty simple. Jesus says, "This is my command, love each other." And if you want to experience God, if you want to draw closer to God, if you want to know and feel his presence in a way that you haven't been experiencing it in life, then decide, okay, God, I'm going to trust you. So think about, pray to, talk to God, have him be on your mind, and then obey him by loving the people that he puts around you, by sacrificing for the people that he puts around you. That's exactly what Jesus does, and that's what he tells us to do. Very simple command, John 15:17. That whole passage of the book of John chapter 15 is about connecting to Jesus, and then what comes out of us as a result is fruit, which means Jesus says very clearly, this is my command, love each other. That's how we're going to produce the fruit. If you're not trusting him to love the people, to sacrifice, to serve them, maybe you're not acknowledging, experiencing God in a close way. I encourage you to trust him. Take a step of faith. Ask him every moment of the day, how can I be loving the people that you put around me? And then see that you're going to start experiencing the reality. You're going to start knowing, growing in Jesus more. He says it in the book of John, chapter 14, the previous chapter where he's talking about the Holy Spirit. He says, look, if you love me, you're going to obey my commandments. And then I'll talk to the Father and he'll send the Spirit, a counselor, to be with you. He's talking about how he's going to become more real. His presence is going to become more real in our life as we trust him and obey. That's what I hope that you'll do. Know that he's always with you and experience his always being with you through obedience this week and forevermore. Hope we can all do it together. That's what the church is supposed to be about. Thanks.